Tonight on Country Squire Radio, we're talking cubed tobacco. That's right, we're getting all square up in here. Plus, we've got a pipe question of the week all about what you need to do when you've got a clay interior to a briar pipe, how you keep it up, how you keep it clean. You'll find out on this episode, as well as quick fire questions, listener feedback, and more happening right now on Country Squire Radio. Welcome to Country Squire Radio. I'm Beau.
And I'm John David.
JD!
Hey, Beau. Good evening, man.
Good evening to you, sir. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah?
I'm doing okay. It's been crazy. Just preparing for our move. We talked a little bit before the show. This may be the last episode of Country Squire Radio we do in this shop. Now, I will say because of some delays they had in the construction process over the weekend, it appears that it will not be, but it could be. And so that's where we're kind of at.
Can we pull the curtain back, metaphorically speaking, here? Because when I walked up to the shop, you've got the classic Country Squire that we've all known and loved for several years.
Yeah, the big French doors with the kind of over the arches above the windows.
Beautiful,
right?
You got the table out front where oft there is someone after hours kind of puffing on their pipe.
That's right.
Last tobacco hit before heading home.
That's right.
But like just take two steps and you're falling into the hellmouth. Like the concrete up front has been ripped up.
You know that thing that ate Boba Fett at the beginning of
Sarlacc?
It kind of looks like that, Yeah,
it does. And this is all going on in front of what will be the new Country Squire.
That's right.
I was kind of wondering where we were in the development process, so to speak.
Well, yeah, it's funny because of course, contractors and developers, they're so optimistic all the time. Oh, we're going to do this, and it's going to be great, and it's going to have this timeline, it's going to look just like this, and of course, they're generally in the ballpark, but it looks like we're going to be a little late, and frankly, that's fine. Gives us a little more time to kind of prepare, but we're ready. We're ready to move, and I think it'll be good. I mean, it was just so awesome. We had a couple of Eric and Kelsey from Roanoke, Virginia. This weekend they drove. They drove 11 and a half hours.
That's a pipe pilgrimage and a half there.
To come to the Country Squire because they wanted to see the original Country Squire.
Wow.
And they weren't passing through. They weren't going somewhere. They weren't like on their way to New Orleans or on their way to Dallas or something. Like they came to Jackson, Mississippi to come to the original Country Squire. And to be honest, it blew my mind. It really, it was so awesome, man. Eric's a relatively new pipe smoker, been in the cigar world for a while, but just kind of got roped in and has really enjoyed it. Ordered several of our blends recently and was like, man, I just got to go see what a real old-fashioned tobacconist looks like. And he did, man. It was really precious to see him and his fiance, actually, Kelsey. So anyway, man, props to them. Like, I just want to say I just made some great friends over the weekend. Like, that was so special. And gosh, I was speechless. I mean, it blew my ever-living mind that someone would drive 11 and a half hours to stay 2 nights in Jackson, Mississippi.
Man,
I mean, it's just crazy.
This is why I say the Jackson Tourism Board needs to hook us up with a branch or something.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty special.
Well, so the great thing is, for folks that have not yet made their pilgrimage, it is coming down to the wire. I mean, as you mentioned, this may or may not be our last episode here, but this coming Friday, there's a huge event happening in the old shop, the current shop.
That's right. Yeah, we're kind of having a going away party basically for our old shop. So this Friday, starting at 6 and going on into the night, it basically until we're doing it up right, man. We're really excited about that. We'll just kind of have a big event, man. It's really encouraging to me. A lot of folks, friends of the Squire, folks that don't even smoke a pipe anymore.
Wow.
These folks are coming back around, going to share some stories, hug some necks, and take pictures. And man, I got some awesome news today. The founder's daughter, Kim Owen, will be here on Friday, and that'll be great too. That means the world to me. So just gonna be a fun party, man. And Mark VV, it was so funny. He messaged me earlier today, and he's like, "Man, it doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to be there, but can I PayPal you some money to go buy a bottle of whiskey on me for the party?" And man, I thought that was really kind.
That is awesome.
Anyway, it looks like we'll have a great turnout. We're really excited.
That's awesome, man.
It's an emotional time. It's one of those things where we're excited about moving our little pipe shop into a bigger unit and able to do more. It'll help our mail order business and our local business, but gosh, it's just it's tough to give up the space. It really is.
You know,
Yeah.
it's funny. I had last week, end of last week, we had some folks come in to record some interviews for a different show, and I was sitting down with them in the studio. We've got kind of this kind of waiting meeting area out in front of the actual recording studio, and so we're just kind of talking a little bit, and I was kind of telling them what we do and kind of giving them a history of potastery and mentioned, of course, the Country Squire and the work that we've done with Country Squire Radio, and he's like, wait, Country Squire, like the tobacco shop? And I was like, yeah.
That dump is still open.
The guy started laughing like crazy because he's like, I mean, I haven't been there in a couple years, but I used to go a couple decades ago, like all the time. And like, just to think, thinking about, Miss Reeves specifically, like,
yeah,
running a podcast.
Yeah, I know, right?
I was like, man, there must have been some changes over there. I was like, the great thing about the Country Squire is, there have been some changes. It's adapted for what the current market is, and been open to ideas like the podcast.
Yeah.
I said, but the thing is, what made it special, in the previous generation has carried on. And I was complimenting you, and I want to compliment you to your face as well, and on air, saying,
that's
like,
kind, man.
John David has really done such a great job of shepherding the shop and maintaining just that core specialness all the way from when he came in as a bright-eyed, young assistant,
bushy-tailed future therapist, right?
Right. into the powerhouse that you are today, man. And so
that's really, really kind.
As big of a milestone as we move into with the new shop as it's coming, man. I'm excited to see what you do with the new shop, and I know, and I think that everybody knows that you'll maintain the specialness here. Has never been necessarily about that brick and mortar. There's something special about the brick and mortar that's here.
Yeah.
But the specialness is about the people and the community and the spirit of the shop, and that's something that you've always been good at shepherding.
I think I appreciate that, man. The heart and soul of any really good tobacconist, I think, is the people. You get into this business because you're interested in or have a passion for premium tobacco pipes. But to be honest, you stay in it because of the people.
Yeah.
You do, and that is true to me every single day. I love tobacco. I love blending tobacco. I love, high grade briar pipes and studying the manufacturers and learning the industry and all those things. It really is fun. But, as I've been pretty pensive the past few weeks, because this is getting real, this is really, it's been a big year for me, right? Got married and, moving my wife into the house and, changing up the furniture.
She's
and
painting the
everything.
house now.
Man, I know, right? and we're moving the shop and, it's a big deal, but what, you stay in this business despite all the chaos, because of the people, and that's why we're here. So, we're going to just continue to carry on and see where the good Lord takes us.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a fun show and a fun topic tonight. Before I mention it, though, I got to kind of selfishly give a quick plug. New podcast out called Star Wars TV Talk. You mentioned the Sarlacc earlier, so that's how I'm going to shoehorn this one in.
Oh, dude, and I didn't even know.
Yeah, man. So some guys are taking on. We got the Flash TV Talk podcast.
Yeah, that's good.
Helped launch Tolkien TV Talk, Legends TV Talk. We've got this new Star Wars TV Talk about an upcoming television series about Star Wars. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, Star Wars TV Talk, check it out. I am on that first initial episode, and would love to hear your feedback on how that's going. But that's all off in a galaxy far, far away. We're talking right here and now, and we're talking specifically cubed tobacco, cubed cut tobacco. Now, this is, when I think of, immediately to mind, this brings to me these new cubed, what do you call it? Chewing gum. Have you seen the cubed chewing gum?
What the heck are you talking about?
Okay, so this is like a thing right now.
Yeah,
you get the chewing gum sticks.
Okay,
well, it's chewing gum, but it's in a cube.
Is it kind of like the Dippin' Dots of ice cream meets chewing gum?
It's like that, but are they
bigger
and bold?
Okay.
Now, cubed cut tobacco is not big and bold. It's not like dice. You're talking tight.
Can you? So we've got cube cut tobacco. This is PS 41, Stokeby 41, cube cut here, kind of sitting on a little tray on the tobacco bar. Beau, kind of describe what you're looking at there.
Yeah, I mean, you think of kind of like pebbles. You almost think about like hamster food. And I don't want to say hamster cage because this is not the.
Well, it may go in the hamster cage, but it doesn't work necessarily as the liner.
Exactly.
Like we probably wouldn't put this on the hamster scale.
No, not at all, not at all. But yeah, it does. It almost kind of looks like that kind of pellety style food that you might find with the.
You know what I think of every time I see cube cut tobacco?
What do you think of?
Grape nuts.
You know what? Well, so grape nuts would be a little bit smaller.
They'd be smaller than that, but they look identical.
Yeah. I can definitely see
that looks like grape nuts. And if you don't know what a grape nut is, you need to remedy that. You may not like it, but you need to at least buy one box of grape
Oh,
nuts in
grape
your
nuts are
life.
delicious.
I like grape nuts,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So cube cut tobacco, we're looking. It's just these little pebbles of tobacco, right? It's a granular. It looks, on further inspection, you look close to them, and they're literally small little cubes of tobacco. You can see where some of them are kind of flaking apart. But it looks like little layers of tobacco just pressed into these tiny little cubes. And so, man, we thought we'd talk about that tonight and just kind of unpack that a little bit. It's something that we've talked about before: rope to twist tobacco, flake tobacco, ready rubbed, and different forms of tobacco. But man, the time seemed to be right for cube cut.
All right,
So
man.
yeah,
Let's cut it
so
up on the cube cut.
well, so cube cut, you got to think, how did this come to be? I think anytime you see tobacco that is prepared in a strange way like this, the first thing that comes to most people's minds is, why would you do that? Right,
Well,
right.
yeah.
It makes sense though. Like, why would you turn perfectly good tobacco into small little cubes, right? It's kind of the idea of like, why would you have a flake tobacco? Why would you have tobacco when you open the can, it looks like a bunch of little coin slices? Like, why would you do that in any term?
Yeah, but I do feel in some of those other situations, you can kind of see the ease in which, oh, this is kind of pulls apart and it's got kind of the rope aspect to it. Or, oh, this is this allows you to kind of get the consistency that you want inside your bowl.
Mhm.
With the cubed, it's
Yeah,
much
good point.
more. Yeah, I mean, like it's hard.
It's like, what the heck?
It is. The practicality is a little less obvious. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, and I think that's fair. One thing you have to think of um, when you talk about the different, I just have to mention this. My precious mother just texted me and said that my grandfather used to call grape nuts fried BBs, and that is a perfect description. And Mama, you're right. And frankly, if
Some fried BBs
that
right
kind
here.
of looks like a fried BB,
That's a
don't you?
fried
Don't you
BB.
think? Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Mama
Look,
Cole popping in with the hot takes. I
no,
love it.
I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna take a BB and kind of maybe deep fry it, and
Right.
put some more butter on it, it looked like a cube cut pipe tobacco.
That's
Yeah.
right. Probably have the same effect if you ate it too.
Yeah, probably would. Probably would. Yeah, it's a good thing we're close to like 5 hospitals.
Right.
So we've got anytime you think about these strange tobaccos and how you look at them, whether it's something as different as cube cut or as just odd as or not common as a flake tobacco. You've got to go back. All these things are related, right? With the history of flake tobaccos in general, any kind of tobacco that's been, been uh, packaged in a certain way, treated in a certain way, they all kind of go back to very specific points of why they developed them like that. And really, you're talking about the ease of carrying the tobacco, right? All the flake tobaccos kind of go together in this, right? And when I say flake tobacco, we've got kind of a family here. We've got the rope, we've got the flake, the medallions, the cube cut, plug tobacco, any tobacco that's undergone some type of pressure, and is not a like a ready rubbed, ribbon cut, coarse cut tobacco. We're talking about something that's undergone some pressure on purpose.
Right.
That there's reasons for this, right? So we're talking about how easy is it to transport the stuff. How easy is it to pack it into the bowl of your pipe, right? What is the convenience factor of it? Like, is this something accessible? Am I going to have to fumble with it when I use it? But then also, it's the preservation of flavor too over time. And so all these things, when you think about, why did flake tobacco come to any kind of pressed tobacco? How did this come about? It all kind of the origin story of all these different types of tobaccos kind of meet at that nexus. What is the easiest way to consume this tobacco in the station that I find myself in? And so cube cut, which is not a particularly popular cut today, and really hasn't been one of the top cuts ever. It did develop, as far as we know, sometime in the 19th century, but it's just a tobacco cut that is very it's granular. It's something that you don't have to spend a lot of time packing your bowl with. We don't know exactly how this did gain popularity when it did, but it's just very convenient. It's something that you literally drop into the bowl of your pipe and light. You don't really have to pack it a certain way or apply a lot of pressure. There's not any kind of fancy packing methods for cube cut tobacco. Just kind of falls
Okay.
right in. You can obviously you carry it just like any other tobacco, so that doesn't really make a lot of sense, as far as a different factor there. But the presentation of flavor, this is something as well. Cube cut tobacco, like any pressed tobacco, those flavors. Obviously, this started as a giant brick of tobacco. So this came from the same genesis that a flake tobacco would come from,
Interesting.
or a plug, or anything.
So all right. So just for some kind of context, you said the pellets themselves are quite
Yeah,
tiny.
yeah.
Is the idea that this is a brick that was kind of like, so are the pellets? What am I asking? Is it like a flat, like a really flat, and they cut the cubes out of it,
Yeah.
or is it like a brick where like it's layers and layers and layers of cubes on cubes on cubes?
No, so this was a giant brick, and then they basically cut it into flakes, but then cut it again.
Oh,
Right,
okay, gotcha. That makes
right.
some sense.
And so you've got it. It's been turned into a cube, right? And so you've got.
How do you maintain consistency? I'm sorry, but I'm
Well,
thinking what that process must be like.
yeah, and the amount, obviously, modern day, machinery that makes this kind of thing happen. I mean, and we're making a mess here as we're sitting here playing with these cubes, but they're just so doggone irresistible.
I
You
know they're
just
kind
want
of
to sit
fun to
there
play
and
with.
mess with them. But the cubes, the modern machinery that can make this kind of precision, this type of uniformity in the cut, it just takes a lot of precision and tons of pressure and specialized tools to do that. But what they've done here is they've allowed a plug tobacco to be cut into this kind of form, and so you're allowing the flavoring process that would make a let's say a flake tobacco really pronounced, very delicate, nuanced flavors. The magic that happens when you press a tobacco into flakes and then maintain the flakes over time, even in the packaging. That process continues in that way. Well, this allows basically that type of process to continue, but in a more
Hmm,
portable, you don't have to worry about it as much. With a flake tobacco, it's got to stay in the tin. It's got to, stay in its kind of preserved little state if you want it to continue in that way. And so, at least with this, you've got these tiny little, it's almost like little plugs of tobacco. Each one is its own little plug. And so the marrying process can continue ad infinitum, as time goes on. So it's just part of it, and that's kind of the story of all tobaccos that have been processed in some strange way. Why did they do it? Well, there was a purpose somewhere along the line. With Cube Cut, we don't exactly know why, but we do know that it's easy to carry. It's really easy to pack and light, and generally to keep lit if you're used to flake
really,
tobaccos.
really.
It is, and then of course you have the preservation of flavor content, of moisture that's there just because it's under pressure, and it tends to be convenient. So it's just one of those things. It's a different form. It's not particularly popular, but doggone it, it's pretty good.
So the ease of keeping it lit is kind of fascinating to me,
Well,
especially because like you
and
think
you're
of packing your pipe as such an art form.
yeah, your results may vary, but like your mileage may vary or whatever. But
Yeah.
the thing about cube cut tobacco is that it tends to it does tend to burn evenly once you get it lit. The great thing about it is you don't have to spend a lot of time um, packing it. Once it goes in the bowl, you really are just filling up your bowl of tobacco and just gently, very, very gently evening out the top layer. That's the only tamping that's involved in the
Hmm.
lighting process. And then, like any flake tobacco, when you put the flame to the tobacco, the little individual cubes will kind of start to erupt, if you will.
Expand,
They'll
sure.
start to expand a little bit, and then after you smoke your pipe for a while, you'll begin tamping it slowly, just like you would any pipe, but or any tobacco. But it's something that just kind of has a easy smolder to it that seems to just kind of move along. So it's
Interesting.
an interesting tobacco. Typically, this kind of leaf is burley based. Now I don't know why. I don't know why you don't see more Latakia cube cuts or Oriental cube cuts or even a Perique cube cut or anything like that.
Wouldn't it be more like theoretically speaking when you've got pressed tobacco, like if you got pressed tobacco in a tin versus just like loose tobacco or like ribbon cut rather, wouldn't you theoretically have more tobacco per tin when it's all pressed together? Does that make sense? Like,
Well, I mean, if they are weighing it out, I mean, so it's one of
sure.
those things that you're buying it by the ounce,
Okay,
right?
fair
Or
fair point.
you're buying it by the ounce. But the thing is, you could probably fit more of this in a condensed environment than you could, some other forms of tobacco.
Okay,
So, and,
interesting.
and I think maybe that's why this is popular to some degree, or not popular, but why some people favored it. Maybe why it came into existence. It's like you get the benefits of the flavor of flake tobacco, but you don't have to store it like flake tobacco.
Gotcha.
That's kind of my hypothesis. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but in my mind, it's like, okay, well, you've got these tiny little flake, little really little plugs, and so it's like I get the convenience of loose tobacco. But it gives the flavor profile and the aging properties of a flake tobacco.
Hmm,
That's the best I can imagine.
interesting.
And really, that's just speculation.
Well, I guess the main reason I ask is just thinking about from a burley standpoint. I mean, if burley is so readily available and non-invasive, then if you need to pack in a little extra, wouldn't you pack in using burley?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just one of those tobaccos that it's easy, it's everywhere. It's lurking everywhere. We always talk about, but it's a great blender too. And so a lot of folks, when they blend tobaccos, obviously they'll use burleys. But if someone has a cube cut tobacco like this, of course, this is Stokely 41, which is it's a burley mixed with a little matured Virginia in here, and then pressed into plugs and then cut into cubes like this. But this is a tobacco that you can smoke by yourself,
Hmm.
but by itself, but you can also blend it with things as well. And so just like any other tobacco, because it is small and malleable and all that, you can blend it. A lot of folks will throw a little Perique in there. You can put some other Virginias if you like, or maybe even a finely chopped Cavendish or something like that, just to kind of make it your own. So it can be used not only as a smoke blend in itself, but also a base, which is to be blended with other things, which is kind of fun. So
How often do
we've
you?
really made a mess. This
Well,
is
yeah, this
ridiculous.
is
Yeah,
it is really.
it is starting to look like a hamster cage here at the Country Squire.
Well, to be fair, this is back in the day. This is how dirty the counter always was.
No, that's right. That's right. No, that's right.
Yeah, but okay. So I'm kind of curious. How often do you actually smoke cube tobacco?
Not very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, not very often.
Why? If it's got all of these,
That's a good question. It's one of those things. For me personally, I love flake tobacco, and um, it just a proper flake. One that's been pressed into or cut into slices. And so why do I like smoking that and not this? I don't know. For me personally, um, you see a lot more Virginia leaf used in flake tobacco, whereas these tend to be more burley based. I like burley. I blend with it a lot. I think
Mhm.
it's great. But I'm more of a Virginia smoker. I just kind of prefer that over the other. Also, for me, part of the fun of smoking a flake tobacco is the preparation, the process of actually having to sit there and tear the leaf
Right. Yeah.
apart and
Yeah.
kind of determine what slices in your tin look best. And okay, I'm gonna tear this one apart, and then is that enough to fit in my pipe? I think it is. And which pipe am I gonna smoke? And all this stuff. And it's the ritual of it, right? It's the liturgy that we go through to prep for the big event. And so
Are you telling me that cube tobacco is too easy for you?
it kind of
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
So cube
It
tobacco
kind of is.
is the apple of tobacco, whereas
Oh.
everything else is more of an android.
Oh, I see where you're going
Yeah,
here
this
with
is
this.
this is the
Um,
Macintosh, the Apple. It's made for kindergartners. Not obviously not tobacco's not made for kindergartners. That's not what we're saying. Country Squire Radio, and by all means, please be of age if you're going to listen to this podcast. They are listening, fellas.
oh, it's
Yeah, yeah,
funny.
yeah. So no. But you know what I'm trying to say. Like
No,
it's
yeah, no. I mean, it's a tobacco that it's ready to be consumed.
yeah.
But it does take a little patience. It's one of those that you do have to tend to a little bit to get started. Lighting. But once you do get it started, it tends to burn pretty well.
Yeah, and then you get
So
your eye smoke.
your eye smoke and
Yeah.
your eye cloud.
Yeah, eye cloud of
Right.
smoke. That's what it is.
Some popular ones on the market. We've had folks tweeting in, some pictures of some of their favorite cube cut tobaccos. Um, the someone Eric, our good friend, sent in the corncob pipe from Cornell and Deal. We have Stokeby number 41, which is again the burley and matured Virginia. Really good tobacco. It's got a delicate, nicely nuanced flavor. You've got just enough kind of nuttiness. There's a fresh cut grass there. It's semi-sweet. It's not overwhelmingly flavorful, but it is one of those that if you sip it, it really will reward you and is fun to smoke. Also, Cornell and Deal Cube Cut Burley, which is just a cube cut mix of burley, different grades that they put together and turns out to be good tobacco. And again, a lot of folks will use these as bases to blend with other things, Perique or Virginias or whatever, like we said. Now, what's interesting, and a lot of folks, this is kind of this doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but a lot of folks will cube cut their own flake tobacco. Okay, now this is something I'm going to demonstrate here for you, so you can actually as a process. Some people they want to smoke this particular flake tobacco, but for some reason they might think it burns a little easier if
For
it's
the cube.
or if it's in the cube form. And so what they'll do is they'll take the pieces of flake and they'll kind of form them up into whatever width of the cube that you want it to be, and then they'll literally cut it with scissors. So you just
Kinda like
take you
yeah.
just kind of take it and you make your own little tiny cubes, and they're not necessarily 3D cubes. I mean, it's like a flat cube. But then you'll have people they'll do this, and this is how they prep their flake tobacco. They make their little cube cuts, and and then before you know it, you've got this little tray of kind of cubey
Cube-esque.
square rather. It's really like a square cut,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're square looking little pieces, and then you'll take your flake that you've just cut into square pieces, and then you'll drop it in your pipe very similarly to the actual cube cut.
Interesting. And
So
think about it like you're cutting like green onions, if you will, like dicing
yeah,
up
no,
green
that's right.
onions.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah. So just another way to think about flake. If you've had trouble smoking flake tobacco in the past, and want to try again, but maybe think it's would be an opportunity to try a different method. It might be something you just take your flake, fold it multiple times until you get kind of the width of a few millimeters, just a small width there, and then you'll just cut it, and it'll fall apart in perfect little
Huh.
squares that you can put in your pipe. And again, with cube cut tobacco, you typically just drop it in the bowl. There's no real like we talk about the 3-step packing method, the gentle, medium, heavy kind of packing method, and that doesn't really apply with cube cut. You really just fill the bowl up, give it a gentle little tap on the top. Some people even will just kind of knock the side of the pipe to let the granules settle, and then light your pipe. So that's it. It's just kind of a different cut, of tobacco. It's just a different way to pack it and to process it and to package it. But yeah, it's fun. It's just something different. Not particularly popular. There's not a ton of them out there on the market, but it's one of those that I think is worth trying.
Well, hey man,
Yeah,
if you are going to try it this week, we suggest you try it with the best possible means of making sure you get every single flavor. And that's of course the way we should always sample new tobaccos, and that's with a good quality pipe from our good friends at Missouri Meerschaum.
that's right. That's right. Missouri Meerschaum, of course, makes excellent pipes, and they're all good for tasting because they come
Yeah.
with quality, clean corn cobs that they grow themselves. But Missouri Meerschaum pipes, they come in a wide variety. Of course, tonight our show is sponsored by the Dagner Poker.
The Dagner Poker.
So Missouri Meerschaum, a couple years ago, of course, they collaborated with Jason Dagner of Dagner Pipes and came out with probably the most popular iteration, most popular one of their limited series pipes. It's a really high quality pipe. It's got that kind of black varnish bowl. It's a medium sized bowl, a taller bowl than most Missouri Meerschaum pipes with a chunky stem. It's a poker style pipe. And then you've got a really high quality, plastic bit on the end. It's a saddle stem. It's probably the highest quality bit I think Missouri Meerschaum makes. Just a really,
Mhm.
really handsome bit, and then a nice metal band to set it apart. So it's a really sharp looking pipe. It's one of those that is going to fit nicely in your pocket, but also leave you feeling like you're smoking a full size pipe.
Yeah, man. No, it's a beautiful pipe. And hey, if you've got a Dagner poker from Missouri Meerschaum, be sure to smoke it this week. Take a picture when you do. Retweet that out. We love to retweet it out because that lets the good folks at Missouri Meerschaum know you appreciate them for sponsoring this show.
Meerschaum.
What?
Meerschaum.
You see, you're trying to give yourself conscious. Trying to give yourself conscious on this. That ain't good. That ain't good. All right, man. We've got a pipe question of the week in from Dylan Schlinder. Not Schlinderman.
The Slender Man.
No, he's a Schlender man, but he's not Schlinderman. He's Dylan Schlinder.
Oh, great.
Says, my friend Alex bought an estate pipe that has, I'm going to take that from the top. My friend Alex bought an estate pipe that has a clay-lined bowl. The pipe is otherwise briar, but has an unusual bowl, or has that unusual bowl. What would be the best way to keep the, I tell you what, let me actually take the whole question.
You want to take it from the top? Yeah, man.
Sorry about that.
I had to pull the curtain back, or just to be very clear, Beau has only had a bottle of water to drink tonight.
That's accurate.
Yeah,
that's accurate. All right, all right. So from Dylan Schlinderman,
you got this, baby. You got this.
Pipe question tonight. Sorry, guys. I got thrown off. All right. Pipe question of the week this week comes in from Dylan Schlinder, who says, my friend Alex bought an estate pipe that has a clay-lined bowl. The pipe is otherwise briar, but has that unusual bowl. What would be the best way to give it a deep clean? Thank you. Again, that is from listener Dylan.
Yeah. So, now, to be honest, Dylan, I've never seen a pipe with a clay-lined bowl. My guess is that it's meerschaum lined. There may be iterations of pipes out there that have clay linings. I don't know, and that might be exactly what you have there. But typically, anytime you see a briar pipe that has some type of lining on the inside, it's typically, if it's a quality pipe, going to be meerschaum. Meerschaum, of course, is the kind of dried up little crustacean friends that die and go to the bottom of the Mediterranean Ocean, and then we harvest them later, millennium later, and then and make them into these beautiful pipes that tend to smoke really cool. And we line often briar bowls with them for a couple of reasons. It smokes cooler typically, but also when we line the briar bowl with this meerschaum block, it will allow that briar to smoke like a meerschaum, in that it won't ghost flavors. So it won't. You'll get a clean smoke every time. It's going to have a very pure smoke. You won't, the tobacco won't be adulterated by the flavor of the briar. Basically, with meerschaum, the idea is to not build cake. You're swabbing your meerschaum out after every smoke, and that way you get a clean, fresh smoke after every bowl. So my guess is this is a meerschaum lined briar pipe. Now, if you wanted to give it a good deep clean, if it does have cake on it, if you can't see the meerschaum on the most of the part around, you'll want to just very, very gently ream it. And you can do that with a professional reamer. Some people will use a pocket knife or a check tool. If you're going to go any of those routes, you need to be extremely careful with meerschaum, because it's just a fragile material. A lot of times, meerschaum lined pipes, briar pipes that are lined with meerschaum, that meerschaum is not block meerschaum, it's composite meerschaum, which is a little lower grade. So that means you're going to have to be even more careful if you clean that pipe out. But go through any steps like you would with normal briar. Use some alcohol solution. Everclear works great. Just scrub that joker down really, really good, and get as much of the carbon base out as you can. The idea, again, with the meerschaum, you want to get it as white on the inside as possible. As you start to smoke this pipe again and put it into your regular rotation, after every smoke, you're going to want to clean it really deeply. And that's just to get out any carbon, any residual, ashes or any of that kind of stuff. You want to get it back down to the meerschaum every time, so that you can have that pure flavored smoke every time. So give it a good, give it a very gentle ream. Get back down to the pure meerschaum layer there, level there. Maybe scrub it out with some alcohol, some Everclear, maybe even just some bourbon or something. And then once you get to that point, you'll be good to go. Yeah.
Now, of course, this is making the assumption that, in fact, the Dylan, or rather Alex, might be mistaken in thinking that it is clay. I am curious, though. I mean, if listeners are familiar with briar pipes that have clay inserts, it's not impossible
No, it's not, and
Just highly unlikely.
maybe there are, I would think how you make a clay pipe. I mean, if you're forming it in these molds, it would be pretty difficult to put a clay insert into a briar bowl. But I don't know that for a fact. That could well be the case.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be
So
curious
if anyone's run into that out
Yeah.
there, let us know. But yeah, on it's probably a meerschaum line pipe. In which case, you'll just want to take it back down to that meerschaum as much as you can, get rid of the cake, and then scrub it out with some type of solution just to freshen it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that helps out Alex, Dylan. And thank you so much for your pipe question this week. If you've got a pipe question for us, send it in, show@countrysquireradio.com. Again, that is show@countrysquireradio.com. All right, quick fire question. Ow! All right, man. We got some great quick fire questions brought to us by the Tin Society. More on them in just a moment. All right, we're continuing on with everyone's favorite lesbian priest. We've got some great. Now, is he actually from Lesbos?
No.
He's just a fan of the lesbians.
No, Andy's from like New York.
Okay.
Right. But he
gave us the lesbian.
No, he did. But he has a dear friend that lives half the year in Greece,
I
and
always
then
get the
the other
details wrong.
half the year here in Jackson, Mississippi, right? And
Yeah.
so we have he flips,
he goes back and forth.
He goes back and forth.
All right,
Right,
interesting. Okay, gotcha.
exactly. And half the year is there on the Isle of Lesbos, and then he does half the year here in Jackson. That's where we get the ouzo, because he brings it from the Isle of Lesbos to Jackson,
Right.
and we get that delicious ouzo.
I mean, it's not delicious, but we do appreciate
it.
Andy
Is
for
so
hooking us up.
fine. It's so good, actually, that I asked him, how could I procure another bottle of this stuff?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Changed you forever.
so we're working on
Yeah,
that.
once
Yeah,
you-
it did. It changed me.
Yeah.
You just try it once, and you can't go back
Yeah.
sometimes.
Or you try it once, you realize this is not for me.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
It's yeah. The funny thing is, I always have a hard time misremembering it, but I love going into it because Father Andy, I think, both gets like simultaneously a kick out of it and also
And
like
horrified.
Right. So sorry and thank you.
No, he's a good sport.
We love him.
He's a good sport and a very, very dear friend.
All right, you ready for this?
Yep.
Baked or mashed potatoes?
Ooh, good question.
Boy, mash 'em.
Golly, baked potato by hair.
When you hear potatoes, do you think what? I mean, there's a lot of different potatoes out there.
I think of like a Idaho potato.
All right,
like a
old
big brown,
classic.
like kind of oblong looking potato.
Yeah,
'Cause you got your different kinds of potatoes,
I'm a
right?
sweet potato guy, man.
Yeah, see, I guess being from Mississippi, we probably should be sweet potato guys.
I
but-
guess that is a regional thing. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
like
maybe it's not. I don't know. I mean, they say Vardaman, Mississippi, is the sweet potato capital of the world.
interesting.
I don't know if that's true, but that's what they say.
Well, all right. So if we're talking, I'm just gonna go because again, like we're Mississippi, so
Yeah.
my mindset is from a Mississippian standpoint. I
Yeah.
I tend to prefer. I think I tend to prefer baked, but by a hair, like you say, like
Half baked.
well, we get. Oh, now hang on, now twice baked potatoes.
Now that's a real thing.
that is a real
Yeah, no,
thing.
that's a real thing.
And that's amazing. I don't think you twice bake a sweet potato, but you could twice bake an Idaho potato, and that thing is amazing. But that wasn't one of our options, so I'm just gonna stick with baked. And you said,
Baked.
all right,
Yeah.
all right, we're both baked here. Uh, post or pre-tribulation?
Wow.
Break down the theology.
I think I'm my very from the hip, uneducated, but slightly educated enough to be dangerous answer is post trib.
Well, all right. So as the post seminarian,
Right. The let's be honest, the failed seminarian,
not
right?
break it down a little bit for the uninitiated.
Well, my understanding of this question, okay, if you're pre-trib or post-trib, have the tribulations of the end times, are we on the back side of them or on the front side of them? And my, again, very ignorant, just enough information to be dangerous understanding is that we're that we're on the tribulations have basically begun.
Right.
Now, again, this is all, kind of esoteric Christian theology that, if you're listening and you're not exposed to these things before, you're probably just blanking out, being like, "What are they talking about?" What one of my very good friends said that they're not amillennial or post millennial they're pan millennial, and by that what they mean is it'll all pan out in the end.
Okay. I was gonna say, to define yourself as pan millennial seems like a very millennial thing to do.
They're pan millennials, so
Yeah.
it'll all pan out in the end. Yeah.
So I tend to agree with you. I'm not fully on board with the what was that book that came out? Last Call? No, not Last Call.
Last Call. the Cheers story, right? No, the End Times books, right? That were really popular when we were in high school.
Yeah, it was like a huge deal.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. They all had these really colorful fronts, and then they made that terrible movie with Candace Cameron or whatever.
What's their face? We should make an apocalyptic movie called Last Call.
No, we could.
That should be a thing.
Yeah, we could
fund that.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, chops, pork or lamb?
Lamb.
All the way.
Yeah.
Lamb chops are amazing.
Yeah, I haven't met many pork chops that I like. But a lamb chop, I can get on board with that.
I could take or leave pork chops. I'm not gonna hate on them, but like I would only go with the pork chop if that was the only thing there. Like I wouldn't turn it away for like a salad. Well, depends on the salad. Yeah, lamb all the way. If lamb is an option, there's literally typically no other option. Literally typically. That's what I said. All right. Lamb all the way from Father Andy. Thank you so much for those quick fire questions. Of course, quick fire questions brought to us by the Tin Society.
Yes.
And now the Tin Society is an awesome online service that if you've listened for some time, you've already heard a lot about them. And gosh, why haven't you signed up? I'm just going to assume that you have. But for the few of you who haven't, check them out. Go to tinsociety.com. This is a way to get hand-selected tobacco sent to your door every single month. Expand your palate. John David and I did an unboxing video of a box that we received from the Tin Society, and in it, I really encourage you to check it out. We go through for all the different tobaccos that came in, but you also get like flavor profile education sheets that kind of make us look stupid. like the amount of knowledge that exists.
The detail really is amazing. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we probably could just go on forward, just when the box comes in, just take each one and just make that a show for the
tasting notes and everything is really, really awesome. Yeah. The presentation is remarkable with the Tin Society. They are giving you just several tobaccos that you may or may not have tried, but it's always a great variety. Some of the best tobaccos in the world, and of course the tasting notes, the presentation, it all comes together to be an awesome monthly experience that you can look forward to. So, of course, you'll be exposed to some of the best tobaccos around, and it'll broaden your palate, even if you don't necessarily care for the tobacco. And so it's a fun way to expand your tobacco horizons. So anyway, try it out. If you go to tinsociety.com, you can sign up, use the code Squire when you do, and you'll save 20% on your first month's box.
That's right. So tinsociety.com, use the code Squire for 10% off on your first month's service. 20% off.
20%
month service.
20% off.
20%.
That's right. 20% off.
20% off.
20% off.
Math. Listener feedback. All right, man. We got some listener feedback in tonight.
Yeah.
First one's kind of some hot take from Portland Paul.
Yeah.
He was hitting the Twitter tonight because he's got an axe to grind when it comes to the cube tobacco.
No, he said, I really hate cube cut. I literally suck it down the shank into my mouth all the way through the bowl. Some folks, if they pack it too tightly, they'll do that. And maybe even if they don't, it's one of those things. I guess it depends on the draft hole. I have read in the past people really struggle with sucking the little cubes kind of through the shank into your mouth. I think a lot of that depends on the thickness of the cut. I'm not really sure, but yeah, a lot of folks, they do. I have heard that before. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. I had to. I was going to mention it while you're talking, but I saw he tweeted that in, so I wanted to include it on the tail end. But I was thinking that throughout the process of, especially like, larger shanks that are out there that it could easily kind of go through.
Yeah.
All right. Next in from Daybutt.
Daibutt.
Daybutt.
Yeah.
That's the name.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's it.
So what did Butt have to say?
He said, just a suggestion. Why don't you do a collaboration with Missouri Meerschaum and do a Country Squire Cobb? Stay tuned.
That needs to happen.
Stay tuned.
That does sound exciting.
Yeah, you never know. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
We also have from Peter R on iTunes says, what a pipe-tastic find. I now am binge listening on the way to and from work with my pipe after my pipe. I have found that the content to be highly knowledgeable and approachable, though my TAD, which stands for
Tobacco acquisition disorder,
is
right?
at an all-time high. I will make a pilgrimage someday and bring some brown water to share. Ooh, Peter.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Beau will be here that
I
day.
will be here. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, that's great. Hey, also from Portland Paul tonight, he says wrong on the tribulation pre and post stuff. He says pre and post are when Christians leave the earth before or after the 7-year tribulation.
Left behind.
What Jay left behind?
Left
So
behind.
what
Yeah.
what I was describing apparently, Jay, what I was describing when I was talking earlier is a millennial. So there's
Right.
there's a millennial, there's pre-millennial and post-millennial and amillennial, and like my good friend says, pan-millennial. It'll all pan out in the end. And so
I like that.
there's that. And then also our good friend Brian, he says, Brian Levine, who everyone knows and loves, he says Oriental and Latakia leaf causes the little cubes in cube cut tobacco to fall apart. And so that's probably why you don't see it as very, as often. I guess, something about the consistency, the moisture content, the oil content in a burley just makes it a better, a better fit for cube cut tobacco.
And Mark VV tweeting in a meme of me, poodles or grape nuts. How is a man to choose? I would choose the grape nuts.
There you go.
I would choose the grape nuts.
There you go.
Oh man, well hey, so it's love
That's
all the
fun.
feedback.
That's right. Yeah.
We also especially
great.
encourage those of you who have not done so. Head over to iTunes, write us a review on iTunes. It's a great way to help out the show, and it doesn't cost you a dime to do it. But if you are willing to help send a few dimes to help make the show happen, please, not to beg or anything, but head over to patreon.com/Country Squire Radio. It is because of the support of our club members and patrons that this show happens every single week without fail, and we thank y'all so much for it. Again, that's patreon.com/Country Squire Radio. You can also follow us throughout the week. You can follow me. I'm at the Real Beau York.
I'm at John David Cole, or you can get us at the shop at _Country Squire.
Of course, the show's handles at Squire Radio, but all that information and more can be found at countrysquireradio.com, where you can tune in Monday nights after hours, 8:30 p.m., 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern, including next week, where we either will be broadcasting from here or not from here. Out of curiosity,
like any other week.
Yeah. I mean, like, I do. Will we go literally? Like, let's say that we live in a world where next week is the last week in shop, in this shop, in this location,
in this space,
yeah. So would the following week we be broadcasting from the new location?
I don't know. It depends on how far we get, in kind of our setup and everything. We may have to do a week where we go from the studio. Perhaps. We may have to get creative. It just depends. I'm hopeful if all works out that maybe if next week is the last one here, then the following week, if the tea leaves are correct, and I think the calendar is going to fall the way it is, God willing, here in a couple weeks we'll be in our new shop for our next episode.
Oh man, so, I feel like we had we could have done like a Country Squire Radio field trip. We could like go to around different local restaurants that have like back porches or something like that. We're doing it Fondren Public or something like that.
Are you just trying to work in like a barbecue?
Yeah, tasting? Like free. Well, I was actually just going for I was going for the alcohol, but no. That's a good point. That's a good point, actually. Yeah. That is true. Pig and Pint does have that. Can you smoke a Pig and Pint?
You can.
Can you?
Yeah. Maybe they'll let us do a live show.
Let us do a live show there. I don't know. It's a cool thought that we should have had a couple months ago if we were going to make it happen, which means it probably won't.
Right.
But one way or the other, tune in next week to figure out where we're going to be.
That's right.
And we'd love to have you join us. Cube Tobacco. It's
Cube Cut, baby.
Nothing square about it.
It's waka waka. It's delicious. You can line your hamster cage with it if you want, but it'll be a waste.
Yeah, no, because it's good.
You need to smoke it.
It's good. All right, man. Well, let's go have a night.
See you, brother.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Yeah, we had fun, y'all. It's always good to hear from you. I'm glad y'all could join us tonight. And man, Eric, by the way, he says his last name is pronounced Crowell, not Crowell, but Crowell.
What did I say?
I can't remember what you said.
I don't think I said anything.
I think
you butchered this one.
No, and I may have. But what's funny, we were laughing about it. He was like, he was saying, at some point my last name probably was, something that sounded sophisticated like Crowell,
Right.
But over the time and the southern heat, the sweet tea and the biscuits and gravy, and it just kind of catches up to you, and eventually it's just like Crowell. And I get that.
Yeah, that's good. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
oh wait, no, I can't say bye everybody if I don't have my finger on the button. So now I was like,
That's right.
it's after hours. It's a hot mic. What are they going to say? What are they going to say? I hope